Well, on this episode of the Rust Farm, we're going to go through the differences in the Sweptline. Since I have every year of Sweptline, figured why not do a video about the differences. So start with the 61. We should almost start with the 60 just to show what the older generation looked like, since I have one of those too. What?
It's mine.
It's not yours.
Yeah, I claimed it.
Okay, well, Michelle has a 60. This is a 1960 Fargo 100. This is an interesting truck. It's pretty neat. It's got a 313 poly in it. There's no difference, but the hood's a nightmare to open. But there's no difference between the 318 and the 313 really. But for some reason in Canada, Fargo's used the 313. I don't know.
Just be different.
But it's a hot rod though, and it's a goofy truck. Somebody must have ordered it, because it's got a factory posi 323 or 354 sure grip 8.75.
It's just got so much character.
Yeah, I love this truck. It's a big back window.
Even came with a can of Quaker oil.
Oh yeah, that's still there too. Unopened can of Quaker. Quaker State. But yeah, so I guess now we'll move on to the 61. That's 56. But yeah, the 61. These were 1 year only truck with this grill. If it has this grill, it's a 61. And I didn't notice, or didn't really know before I bought this one, that the heavy duties ran a flathead still. It has a flathead 6 just for 61. Which, they're a great motor, but because my 61 half ton had a slant 6. And also one thing that's different with 61s is the gauges. 61s are the only ones with they use the same gauges as the older generation of truck. I love these gauges. They're the rounds. But other than that, the interior is the same. It's just the gauges that are different. And then my 62 isn't here, it's at home. So info picture of 62 now. But 62, we gotta go walk out back here. The 63 is out back. 62 and 63 were the same as far as I know. And they were the first ones that changed the grill. But they had different gauges than the 64 and 65s. Got to show the gauges and that. It's basically the only difference. Here, if you don't want to walk through all the stinging metal.
No, they always get me.
Yeah, this one here is a 63 on the front. This is a slant 6, 3 on the tree truck. Oh, but I have a 61 grill in it instead of my other 61. But they have white base gauges from factory. They're pretty cool gauges. And these were only 62 and 63 that were like this. They're beautiful. But other than that, no difference. Yeah. Cab from a 70. Okay, and then this is 64. Same grill as the 62 and up. But they basically just changed the gauges. Then there's some small differences with spider webs. These gauges, I think, are 64 and early 65 only. Same as the 62 and 63 is just not white face. They're just black backed, not white. Not they're the same, I think. Oh, I didn't even notice the insurance cards up there. 1986. So that's 64. And this is 65. And 65 was a half year. This is an early 65. They're basically identical to a 64. I think the gauges are the same. Yeah, still has the same gauges as a 64. There's no real differences, basically. There's some stuff with the trim. These early trucks, when they had the fancy trim on them. I don't think I have any with trim.
So why did they switch to Dodge instead of Fargo?
Well, Fargo was the Canadian.
Okay.
Well, Fargo was only made in Canada at this time. And they were sold at Chrysler dealerships. Because they had split dealers back then.
Oh, okay.
So they built Fargos to sell at Chrysler dealers.
Hmm.
And then Dodge was sold at Dodge dealers.
Gotcha.
Chrysler Corp wanted their own.
They didn't want to sell Dodges at the...
Yeah, they didn't want them both, so they had Fargos.
Huh.
Strange. Just like Ford and Mercury at the time. But yeah, so the early trucks, when they had the trim, it was thin trim that was below the body line. It was a thin strip, and it ended at where the Sweptline drops at the back on the box.
Okay.
It tailed out right at the point of that. And then, yeah, we'll go to the 64. Well, actually, there is a 65 and a half over here. It's one that that Power Wagon I traded to Paul. But they're basically identical to a 66. There's no change from 65, late 65 to 66. This is a late 65. This is the first year they changed to this front end. And that's when they changed the wheelbases on the long box trucks. This one's a short box. But this actually has an older box on it. This has a early 64 or early 65 in back box, which I'll show. Has the narrow tailgate and the round taillights. This is 65 and a half. They actually went out to here. And this has no inner walls. So this box is off of a older truck. But yeah, there's no difference between a 65 and a half and a 66. Yeah, they're neat trucks. This one's pretty cool, short box Power Wagon with a factory winch. And it's a Fargo. Yeah, and that's Paul's 68. This is a 66. They changed front ends, and 65 and a half is when they changed the wheelbase on half tons. So I don't have any boxes left from an earlier one, do I? No, I don't. I used it on that truck. That's a converted box, but I guess we can look at that. But they changed the wheelbase. I think it was That's 7 inches longer. These are 128-inch wheelbase, and the early 65 and back were 121, I believe. So they're kind of goofy. The back of the box looks funny. These look so much better to me. But yeah, this is 60. And the early boxes didn't have an inner panel. These have an inner wall in them.
Oh, okay.
And the early boxes that is like this. I converted this, but I converted the taillights on this too. The early ones have the narrow tailgate and the round taillights. They also have
I see.
no inner panel on the box. And they have bigger inner fenders too. So you can't really tell that this is an early box anymore, other than when you look inside them. They made it look all 68. Then we'll move to 67. 67's a goof, like they're distinct. Only 1 year that they were like that. So 67 had the same front end as a 66. Same grille and headlights. But they were the first year for the push button door handles. The older ones, well, we didn't even show the fridge door handles on the old ones. But they have the pull handles. This is the first year for the push button handles. So they have push button handles, but they still have the older door panels inside with the old style door latch and window crank. And that 65 and a half is the first year for that style gauges. More square gauges. And I think I can't remember when they switched from to the frat zog. 67 might have been the first year for the frat zog use. And then, and this is a 68. 68, they switched grills. They're all on their own too. Last year for this hood, they have this same grill as a 69, but their own hood. And 68s, they also switched the dash color. You notice the older ones all have body match color dashes.
Okay.
But 68, they still had the old style dash, but they painted them all black. All 68 dashes are black.
It's easier for manufacturing.
Well, no, it was for a reflection thing.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Because I painted the dash red in the crew cab because I like the color matched better. But it does reflect on the windshield worse than the flat black one does. Hey, and then we'll move to the 69, which is also a year all on its own. 68s had the trim like my crew cab there does. That was the last year for that trim. I guess we should go through the trim. This trim with these badges and the distinction here.
Okay.
That was the last year for that. And this trim, this was the last year, 68. The 68 trim is all on its own. Well, 67 and 68, because they push button handles. The earlier ones, the lock was actually in a different spot. So you can't put earlier trim on a 67 or 68. Ask me how I know that. But yeah, so 69 had the same grill as a 68. But 69 they changed to this hood, which they carried through to the end of the line. So that's a 68 hood, but I put I just have a 70 grill thrown in that one right now. That's actually a 68. And 69 was the first year for the dash change.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
see the difference.
Yeah, you can see the difference. The old steel dash, and then this is the padded newer dash. Also, they changed the badges to one piece. And when Power Wagons...
Oh, I didn't know we had an Argo.
Yeah. Yeah, I swore that was there. This is a custom cab too. So 69 is the first year for this trim. That's below the body line. And 68 was the first year for these door panels. But 69, they changed this to this dash. They changed steering wheels as well. And not sure what else they changed. But yeah, the dash was the big one, and the hood. And the trim, I guess. But so 69, and then oh, okay, I do have the Power Wagon badges from a newer one. The Power Wagon badges changed. These are 69. They went to this small Power Wagon. And this is a 70, but those Power Wagon badges changed. In 69, they went to also the marker lights. 68s just had the reflector. Somebody added this marker, but all they had was a reflector. That's a factory 68 reflector. Oh, 69. Okay, 69 still had reflectors. So 70 was the first year for marker lights. 69 still had just a reflector. 70 went to the markers. And yeah, I'll go show the older Power Wagon badges that ran from right from 61 to 68. And this, I'll go look at my 68 Power Wagon. So this is 68 Fargo Power Wagon. And these are the old Power Wagon badges. I love these ones. Way better than the newer ones. I'm missing my 100. So I did a video building this truck.
Come here, Squish Face.
I love this truck. It's a big block 4-speed Fargo Power Wagon. They changed the bumpers. I forgot to mention that. This is a 70 or 69 to 71 bumper. And this is a 71. As far as I can tell, there's no difference between a 70 and a 71.
Cyrus!
The gauges are the same. As far as I can tell, everything is the same in a 71. Yeah, I don't think there's any difference between a 70 and a 71. Believe they're identical. This is a 70. But the bumpers are one thing that did change that I'll show. And this was the same, the older bumper. They ran from 61 to 68. And then 69 they changed to that bumper. It's on the front of that truck. Yeah. As far as I know, that's all the differences. think.
Don't look at me. I have no idea.
I think I covered it all. There's differences with the motors and different things. 67 was the last year that they had the Poly V8. But that was only in Canada. In the States, they switched to the LA 318 in 67. But in Canada, we had the Poly still.
Oh, okay.
We had the older motor for 1 year. 68 was the first year for the LA. I guess we could show the difference between those. I got two side by side. This is a 68. This is the LA 318. Easy to tell by the valve covers and everything. They're the same bottom end, but different heads. Distinct valve covers on a Poly. Polys only have 2 bolts to hold the valve cover on, and the head has the shape to the bottom of it.
Oh, wavy.
Yeah. They look wider, but they're not. Everybody calls them a wide block. They're the same block as that. There's no difference. But they call them a wide block just because the intake manifold is wider just because of the way the heads are laid out.
Gotcha.
The heads look way fatter. And the motor looks wider because the heads, but the block is the same. The way the heads are fatter, so your exhaust manifolds are farther away, so they measure wider, but that's just in the heads. So yeah. And they changed to, there's some subtle little things like the voltage regulators, and 69 they went away from the hydraulic clutch. 68 was the last year for hydraulic clutch. 69 they went to mechanical linkage.
That just how technology evolved, or they just decided to change?
I don't know. I don't know. Hydraulic clutches are fine too, but just mechanical. There's no failure with mechanical.